They say you can tell when your life's about to change forever. For me, it wasn't lightning in the sky or a car crash on the evening news. It was roast chicken. I'd set the table that night like I always did. 2 wine glasses, her favorite candle burning low, and the kind of playlist that makes you think everything's still fine when it isn't. She walked in late, wearing that little smirk she saves for when she's hiding something. Traffic? I asked, watching her toss her purse on the chair like it owed her money. Meeting ran long, she said, without looking at me. She always said that. I'm convinced if she ever gets caught in a bank robbery, she'll shrug and call it a meeting. I poured the wine. She didn't say thank you. She didn't even look up. Instead, she saw the plate I'd made and asked, "Is the chicken dry again?" Not "How was your day?" Not "Thanks for cooking." Just that. So I smiled, because here's the thing about me. When you think I'm upset, I'm usually planning. Halfway through dinner, she finally put her fork down, crossed her arms, and dropped a bomb that didn't even come with a warning. "He told me I laugh more when I'm not with you," she said. Just like that. No build-up. No apology. Not even eye contact. I froze. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I already knew who he was. So I asked the question anyway, just to see if she'd lie. "And who exactly is he?" She finally looked up, met my eyes, and smiled. A small, sharp smile that told me she wasn't even sorry. "Cody," she said. I nodded slowly. "Cody, the coworker you said I had nothing to worry about." "That's the one," she said, like we were discussing the weather. And that's when I knew. She wasn't confessing. She was daring me. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a scene. I just took a slow sip of my wine, set it down, and said, "All right." No yelling. No begging. Just that one word. Because she had no idea. I was already a step ahead of her. She hated that I didn't explode. That much was obvious. I've learned over the years that some people don't cheat for love, they cheat for the drama. Monica was one of those people. If she couldn't get me to scream, cry, or beg, she didn't know what to do with herself. So when I calmly took another bite of my potatoes, her eyebrows knit together like she was the one being wronged. "That's it?" she asked. "That's all you're going to say?" "Pretty much," I said, dabbing my mouth with the napkin. "Chicken's not dry tonight, by the way. You might want to apologize to it." Her lips parted, offended, and she laughed, sharp, fake. "You're impossible, you know that?" "Yeah," I said, standing up to clear my plate. "It's a burden I live with." The rest of the night, she tried little jabs. Her favorite, sighing dramatically while scrolling through her phone. I caught the name Cody lighting up her screen once, and she tilted it just enough so I could see. Like a kid sticking their tongue out. I didn't say a word. Instead, after she went upstairs, I pulled out the little black notebook I kept in the desk drawer. The one she didn't know existed. I wrote down the date, the words she said at dinner, and the exact time Cody's name appeared on her phone. I wasn't angry. I was gathering evidence. You'd be surprised how powerful quiet documentation can be when the world thinks you're the fool. The next morning, she poured herself coffee and asked, "So, what are we doing this weekend?" Like the night before hadn't happened. "Oh, I've got a few ideas," I said, sipping mine. And I did. Because if she thought I was going to play catch-up in this little game of hers, she was dead wrong. I was already moving pieces she didn't even know were on the board. By Friday night, I knew more about Cody than Monica probably did. Turns out, the guy was predictable, a textbook case of peaked in college. Loud enough on social media to show off, quiet enough in real life to pretend he was discreet. He liked to check in at gyms, post motivational quotes he clearly didn't write, and tag Monica in photos from team lunches. Subtle as a marching band in a library. I didn't confront her. Instead, I started planting seeds. At dinner, I asked casually, "So, what's Cody up to this weekend?" She froze mid-bite, then smirked. "Why do you care?" "Just curious," I said. "You talk about him enough. Figured I should know the man who makes you laugh so much." That bothered her. Not because I asked, but because I asked calmly. She wanted me jealous, maybe even paranoid. Instead, I acted like Cody was just another coworker. The truth? I already had screenshots of their late-night texts, courtesy of the cloud account she forgot I had the password to. Lines like, "Wish you were here and don't forget to wear that dress tomorrow, winky face." And while she thought I was none the wiser, I was actually 3 steps ahead. Saturday, I told her I had an all-day workshop across town. In reality, I parked my car 2 blocks from Cody's apartment and waited. At 2:17 p.m., like clockwork, Monica showed up. She checked her reflection in the car mirror, fluffed her hair, and knocked on his door. I didn't take photos. Not yet. Instead, I wrote down the time she went in. When she finally came home, I was sitting on the couch reading the same book I hadn't turned a page of in 2 hours. Good workshop? She asked, trying to sound casual. Very productive, I said, without looking up. She kissed my cheek like nothing had happened. I smiled, because she had no clue. The thing about Monica? She thought she was the star of this show. What she didn't know was that I'd already started writing the ending. The next morning, Monica woke up humming. That was my first clue she thought she'd gotten away with something. She only hummed when she was pleased with herself. Normally, it would have annoyed me, the kind of smug little melody someone makes when they believe they've outsmarted the world. I let her hum. In fact, I encouraged it. Because the happier she felt, the easier it was for me to build the case against her. While she was in the shower, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and made a list. Not of her sins, though that could have filled a small novel by then, but of opportunities. Ways to outmaneuver her. To strike so quietly, she wouldn't even realize I'd made my move until the board was cleared. Rule number 1. Never let them know you're angry. Rule number 2. Never strike until you've already won. Monica came downstairs in a tight black dress that definitely wasn't for me. She tossed her hair, gave me the kind of half smile you give a waiter you're about to stiff on a tip, and said, "I'm meeting the girls for brunch." The girls, I repeated, raising an eyebrow. Which ones? She blinked, just for a second. You don't know them. Fair enough, I said, sliding the newspaper across the table. Don't drink too many mimosas. Her eyes searched mine, waiting for suspicion, waiting for me to crack. But I didn't give her anything. I just sipped my coffee. And that, more than an interrogation, rattled her. As soon as she left, I opened the little black notebook and wrote, Sunday, 10:43 a.m., brunch with the girls. Black dress. Lipstick 3 shades darker than her usual. Likely Cody. I wasn't just keeping notes. I was building a timeline, one I could drop like a bomb whenever the time came. By noon, I was sitting in my car 2 streets over from the Greenhouse Cafe. Sure enough, there she was, not with the girls, but sliding into a booth across from Cody, who looked like he'd borrowed his entire outfit from a mannequin. He leaned across the table, laughing at something she said. Her hand brushed his arm. I didn't need photos. Not yet. Witnessing it was enough for now. Instead, I texted her, "Hope you're having fun. Don't forget we've got that dinner with my boss on Friday." She glanced at her phone, frowned, and quickly typed back, "Of course. Be home later." Perfect. She still believed I was in the dark. That night, I set the stage. While she showered, I placed a sealed manila envelope in the top drawer of my desk, where I knew she'd eventually snoop. Inside wasn't evidence of her affair. Not yet. But something far more interesting. A blank sheet of paper and a sticky note that said, "For when the time is right." I wanted her curious. I wanted her paranoid. When she came downstairs in her robe, smelling faintly of the cologne I didn't wear, I was on the couch watching a rerun of Jeopardy. She kissed my cheek and asked, "Good day?" "Very," I said with a smile. The more she believed I was content, the sloppier she would get. Over the next week, her patterns got clearer. She'd leave the house with vague excuses, late meeting, team drinks, errand I forgot to run. Every time, I made note of the time she left, the time she came back, and the exact look on her face when she walked through the door. On Wednesday, she came in an hour later than she promised. Traffic was insane, she said. Her hair was freshly tousled in a way I'd never seen traffic do. I smiled. Of course, traffic always does its best work on Wednesdays. She narrowed her eyes, trying to read me. "You're not upset?" "Should I be?" I asked. That silence. That's when I knew I had her. She wasn't sure anymore if I was clueless or playing her. Friday came, the dinner with my boss. I'd been planning it for weeks. Monica knew how important it was for me. What she didn't know was that I'd invited an extra guest. When we arrived at the restaurant, she looked flawless. Too flawless. She leaned in and whispered, "Let's make a good impression tonight." I smiled. "Oh, I think we will." Halfway through the meal, while Monica was in the middle of charming my boss with her fake laughter, I glanced toward the entrance. And there he was, Cody, looking confused as the hostess led him toward our table. "Surprise," I said softly, just loud enough for Monica to hear. Her fork froze midair. "What did you do?" she hissed. "Oh, Just thought it'd be nice for everyone to meet the man who makes you laugh more than I do." Her face drained of color. Cody looked between us, clueless, before muttering something about a wrong reservation. My boss, of course, was watching it all unfold like the world's most awkward soap opera. Monica tried to recover, but the damage was done. Later, on the drive home, she finally broke. "What the hell was that?" she snapped. I kept my eyes on the road. "Just a little experiment." "You embarrassed me." "Did I? Or did you embarrass yourself?" She went quiet, fuming in the passenger seat. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Because what she didn't know was that tonight wasn't the checkmate. It was just the first move. That night, after she went to bed without saying goodnight, I sat at my desk and opened the manila envelope. I added a new note inside. Friday. Dinner. Cody's sighting confirmed. Reaction. Pale, defensive, furious. I sealed it again and placed it back where she'd find it. Because sooner or later, she would. And when she did, she'd wonder just how much I knew. And the best part? She wouldn't realize until the end that I'd known everything from the start. By Saturday morning, Monica was jittery. I could tell by the way she stirred her coffee. Fast little circles like she was trying to whip it into butter. She'd barely looked at me since the Cody stunt at dinner. She wanted a fight. She wanted me to explain, to yell, to demand answers so she could flip the script and make me the problem. Instead, I just asked, "So, big plans today?" "Errands," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Busy woman," I nodded. "I'll keep out of your hair." She stared at me, waiting for me to blink first. I didn't. She left 15 minutes later, and the second her car pulled out of the driveway, I opened my laptop. See, Monica had always underestimated me. She thought I was the kind of man who folded socks and paid bills without noticing the lipstick stains on wine glasses. What she didn't realize was that I'd already lined up my chess pieces. And now, it was time to start moving them. My first call was to Chloe. She was one of Monica's friends, or more accurately, one of those friends who smiled through gritted teeth at brunch while secretly keeping score. I'd never particularly liked Chloe, but I knew one thing about her. She despised Cody. Once, months ago, over wine and too much honesty, she muttered to me, "That guy's a walking cologne ad with nothing in the bottle." So I dialed. "Chloe? It's Mark." She sounded surprised. "Mark? Everything okay?" "Oh, couldn't be better," I said lightly. "Hey, quick question. You hear much about Monica and Cody lately?" There was a pause. Then, "Why do you ask?" I smiled. "Hook, line, and sinker. Let's just say I've noticed patterns. Thought maybe you had too." Another pause. I could almost hear the gears turning. "Patterns, huh?" "Yeah," I said. "Like, if she's been bragging a little too much about him at girls' nights. That sort of thing." Chloe sighed. "You didn't hear it from me, but yeah, she won't shut up about him lately. Acts like he invented laughter. Honestly, it's embarrassing." "Thanks," I said, keeping my tone calm, casual. "Appreciate the honesty. Keep this between us." "Of course," she said quickly. And I knew right then that she'd tell someone within the hour, which was exactly what I wanted. By Monday morning, I had confirmation. Chloe had spilled to Jenna, Jenna had texted Lisa, and by lunchtime, Monica's little secret had become the main course at her friend group's gossip buffet. I didn't need to plant the rumor. I just needed to water it. That evening, Monica stormed into the house, eyes blazing. "Did you say something to Chloe?" she demanded. I looked up from the newspaper. "Chloe? Haven't spoken to her in months." "Why?" "Because she's acting weird. Asking questions." "Oh." I raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "Doesn't matter." I went back to reading. That hesitation told me everything. She was losing control of the narrative. The next step was more subtle. I started dropping tiny, harmless lies into our conversations. "On Tuesday," I said, "ran into an old buddy at the store today. He asked about you." "Who?" she frowned. "Can't remember his name. But he seemed to know a lot about your office." Her face paled. I didn't need to explain further. "On Thursday," I mentioned, "got an odd email. Someone asking if we were still together." "Who?" she snapped. "No idea. Probably spam," I said, sipping my coffee. Every little breadcrumb I dropped, she picked up and chewed on until it kept her awake at night. By the following weekend, Monica wasn't humming anymore. She was pacing. She'd glance at her phone, frown, then set it down like it had betrayed her. On Sunday morning, she asked, Do you still trust me?" That one almost made me laugh. Instead, I gave her a slow smile. Of course. She exhaled, relieved. And right there, in that moment, I knew she was mine. Because here's the secret. Cheaters expect explosions. They expect shouting, tears, ultimatums. They don't know what to do with calm silence. It scares them more than anything else. That night, while she showered, I pulled out the black notebook. I flipped back through the pages, all the times, dates, and details I'd logged. I added today's note, Sunday, asked if I still trust her. Appeared nervous. Possible cracks forming. Then I placed the notebook on the kitchen counter, just slightly out of place. When she came downstairs, her eyes flicked to it. She didn't ask what it was, but I saw the tension in her jaw. She wanted to know. She was dying to know. And that's when I realized I didn't even have to confront her anymore. She was already unraveling. 2 days later, I made the boldest move yet. I invited her parents over for dinner. Now, let me be clear, I liked her parents. They'd always treated me well. But I also knew Monica hated when her image cracked in front of them. She lived for their approval. So when her father asked casually, "How's everything at work, Monica?" I smiled and said, "Oh, you know, she's been spending a lot of time with Cody lately. Makes her laugh more than I do." The silence that followed was delicious. Her mother blinked. "Cody." Monica's fork clattered against her plate. "Mark, what the hell?" she hissed. I shrugged. "Just making conversation." Her father cleared his throat and muttered something about the weather, but the damage was done. Her image, the one she polished so carefully, had a crack in it now, right where it hurt most. That night, after her parents left, she rounded on me. "What was that about? Are you trying to humiliate me?" I looked at her calmly. "Why would I want to humiliate you, Monica?" She stared at me like she was trying to read a foreign language. "You're different lately." "Am I?" I said softly. She didn't answer. When I went upstairs later, the manila envelope I'd left in the desk drawer was missing. I smiled, because she'd finally taken the bait. And inside, all she found was a blank page. I could almost hear her thoughts. If this is blank, then what does he really know? She wouldn't sleep much that night. And that was exactly the point. When you've been married long enough, you can read a person like a book. With Monica, the chapters had started flipping themselves. By the end of that week, she wasn't humming. She wasn't pacing. She was watching me. Closely. Like I was the one hiding something. I'd come home from work and find her sitting on the couch, phone in her lap, staring at me like she expected me to confess to a crime. "How was your day?" she'd ask, her tone light, casual. Too casual. "Great," I'd say, kicking off my shoes. "Yours?" She'd hesitate before answering. "Fine. Just busy." That hesitation was gold. It meant she was second-guessing herself. And when a cheater starts second-guessing, they slip. The first real crack showed up on a Thursday night. I was on the porch, reading the same book I'd been reading for 3 weeks. She stepped out, wine glass in hand, and leaned on the railing beside me. "You're calm lately," she said, eyes fixed on the dark street ahead. I smirked. "Is that a problem?" She glanced at me, trying to gauge if I was joking. "No, just unusual." I turned a page I hadn't read. "Guess I'm finally growing up." She gave a little laugh, but it sounded forced. I could almost see the storm behind her eyes. She wanted to ask what I knew, but if she asked, she'd risk giving herself away. So she sipped her wine instead. That weekend, I set the next stage. I told her I had to head out early Saturday morning for a project at work. She nodded, pretending not to care. What I actually did was meet Chloe for coffee. "Appreciate you coming," I said as she sat down across from me. Chloe leaned forward, curiosity burning in her eyes. "So, what's going on?" "I mean, I've heard things, but I want to hear it from you." I smiled. "Let's just say Monica's been busy." Chloe's lips curled. "With Cody?" "Bingo." She shook her head. "I knew it. She's been bragging about him like he's a prize. Honestly, I don't get it. The guy's a joke." "That he is," I agreed. Chloe lowered her voice. "So what are you going to do?" "Working on that," I said. Just needed to confirm what I already suspected. "Want me to spread a little?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. I gave a small shrug. "Wouldn't stop you." That was all it took. Chloe lived for gossip like a fish lives for water. By Monday, I knew Monica's little secret would be bubbling through the grapevine at full speed. And I wasn't wrong. By Tuesday evening, Monica came home looking like someone had told her the IRS was on line one. "Rough day?" I asked. She forced a smile. "Just work." I leaned back in my chair. "With Cody?" Her head snapped up. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said. hiding my grin behind a sip of coffee. She stared at me, lips parted, searching my face for clues. I gave her none. That night, when she thought I was asleep, she got out of bed. I could hear her footsteps as she padded down the hall to the office. The desk drawers squeaked open, the one with the manila envelope. This time, I'd left a second note inside. One line, "Patience is a virtue." When she climbed back into bed, her breathing was uneven. She didn't sleep much that night. By midweek, the panic set in. She started asking odd questions. "Do you think people change?" she asked one evening as we cleaned up dinner. "Sure," I said, rinsing a plate. "Even after years?" "Especially after years." She hesitated, then asked, "Do you think I've changed?" I dried my hands slowly. "I think you're still figuring out who you are." Her face fell, though she tried to cover it with a smile. "That's a nice way of putting it." I shrugged. "I try." Friday night, the phone rang. It was Chloe. I answered in the kitchen, knowing Monica was within earshot. "Mark, you're not gonna believe this," Chloe said, her voice buzzing with excitement. "Monica's been running her mouth. Half the group knows about Cody now. She's digging her own grave." "Appreciate the update," I said, nice and calm. "Want me to keep fanning the flames?" she asked. "Do what you do best," I said with a chuckle. When I hung up, Monica was standing in the doorway, arms crossed. "Chloe," she asked, her voice sharp. "Yeah," I said, drying a dish. What did she want? "Just catching up," I said. Her eyes narrowed. She didn't believe me. And that was the point. Saturday morning, I made the boldest move yet. "Hey," I said over breakfast, "thinking of inviting some friends over next weekend. Been a while since we hosted." She froze with her coffee halfway to her lips. "Which friends?" "Oh, the usual crowd. Chloe, Jenna, maybe Lisa." Her hand trembled slightly. "You can't just spring that on me." "Why not? You love hosting." She set the cup down carefully, her eyes scanning my face. "Mark, are you trying to prove something?" "Just trying to be social," I said with a shrug. The truth was, I already knew how that night would go. Her friends, primed by Chloe, would arrive armed with whispers and sideways glances. Monica would be forced to smile through it, pretending nothing was wrong, while wondering which of them knew the truth and how much I told them. It wasn't the end game yet, but it was close. That night, after she went to bed, I added one more note to the black notebook. Saturday. Agreed to hosting party. Reaction: nervous, defensive. Stage set. I closed the notebook, slid it back into the drawer, and smiled. Because what Monica didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that I'd already planned the final move. And it wasn't going to be loud. No, it was going to be quiet. Devastating. The kind of ending she'd never see coming until it was already over. And best of all, she'd be the one handing me the victory. By the time Saturday rolled around, the house looked like a showroom. Monica had spent the whole morning scrubbing, rearranging, and fussing with throw pillows, all while humming again. But this time the tune was shaky. She kept asking, "You sure it's a good idea to have everyone over?" "Positive," I said, setting out wine glasses. "It'll be fun." The truth? I wasn't aiming for fun. I was aiming for a stage. By 7 p.m., the guests arrived. Chloe came first, her eyes glittering with curiosity. Then Jenna and Lisa, carrying bottles of wine like peace offerings. Monica greeted them with her best hostess smile, though I caught her eyes darting nervously from face to face. As the night wore on, the atmosphere got interesting. Conversations overlapped, laughter rose and fell, but every so often I'd notice one of them glance at Monica, then back to their drink. Monica noticed, too. She refilled glasses too quickly, laughed a little too hard, touched her hair every 2 minutes like she was afraid of invisible judgment. At one point, Chloe leaned toward her and asked innocently, "So, how's work? You still spending lots of time with Cody?" The look on Monica's face? Priceless. She stammered something about team projects while gripping her wine glass, so tight I thought it might shatter. I just smiled, sipping mine. After the guests left and the dishes were piled in the sink, Monica turned to me, eyes blazing. "You set me up," she hissed. "Did I?" I asked calmly, wiping the counter. "You told Chloe. You've been poisoning them against me." "Funny," I said. "They seem to already know plenty." Her mouth opened, then shut. She was smart enough not to admit anything. That night, she didn't come to bed right away. I knew where she was. In the office. I'd left the manila envelope in the drawer again. this time with a new note inside. Just 4 words. Almost time, Monica. When she finally slid into bed, she lay stiff as a board, staring at the ceiling. I could practically hear the questions clawing at her skull. What does he know? How much? Who told him? I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Monday morning, I handed her a neatly folded sheet of paper across the breakfast table. What's this? She asked warily. Just something I've been working on, I said, sipping my coffee. She opened it. Her face drained. It wasn't evidence, not yet. It was a list of dates and times. Each one lined up with her errands, late meetings, and brunch with the girls. No photos, no texts, just cold, undeniable patterns. At the bottom, I'd written, funny how consistent lies can be. She looked up, her lips trembling. You've been tracking me? Not tracking, I corrected. Noticing. Mark, she started, but I held up a hand. Save it. I don't want an apology. I don't even want the truth anymore. I already know it. She stared at me, eyes wide, like a cornered animal. So what happens now? I smiled. That depends on you. The next Friday, I told her we were going out. She asked where. I just said, you'll see. She dressed carefully, suspicious but hopeful, like maybe I was extending an olive branch. We drove across town and pulled up to a quiet restaurant. She looked at me, confused. Inside, a private room was waiting. The table was set for 4. When she sat down, the door opened. In walked Cody, and right behind him, her parents. Monica froze. Her mother's eyes darted between us. What's going on? I leaned back, calm as ever. Just thought it was time everyone got acquainted. The silence was deafening. Cody shifted in his seat, looking like a kid caught stealing candy. Monica's face went pale, then red, then pale again. I slid a small stack of papers across the table. Bank statements, receipts, screenshots. Enough to show the affair without a single word spoken. Her father's jaw tightened. Her mother covered her mouth. Cody's eyes dropped to the floor. And Monica? She whispered, how could you do this? I smiled. How could you? She realized then that she wasn't just losing me. She was losing her parents' respect, her image, her perfect little facade. And here's the cruel part. I didn't yell. I didn't demand. I didn't even end it. I stood, straightened my jacket, and said, dinner's on me. Enjoy. Then I walked out, leaving her to explain herself to Cody and her parents. No screaming, no scene, just silence. Because sometimes the cruelest revenge isn't leaving someone. It's letting them watch as you walk away with your dignity while there's crumbles on the floor. And that, my friends, was the night Monica finally realized she wasn't one step ahead. She was never even in the game.